Belt versus knife. Pros and cons. In this video, I'm going to go over how to defend yourself with a belt against your opponent who has a knife. Now, to begin with, prevention is number one. It is easier to avoid a bad situation than to fight your way out of it. So avoid the situation if you can. Number two, obviously, if your opponent has a weapon, run if you can. Make sure that you're practicing your sprints and running regularly so you know how fast you can run and how far you can run. Okay, now, to begin with, if my opponent has a knife, and this is only if you have time, only if you have the time. If he pulls out a knife on me, I need to create distance. I'm going to throw this belt to the side. I need to create distance. So I have to use a distraction. One distraction could be my hat to the face in order to give me distance. Another distraction could be a pocket full of change. If you're a cigarette smoker, flick a cigarette. If you had a drink in your hand, throw the drink. Okay? If you're in an area where you think there's going to be trouble, you should purchase a hot drink beforehand, okay? Just to have it on you, so you could use the drink. Now, whatever you use, you throw it, you create the distraction. I can even assist it with a loud verbal command. Back off, or back off, okay? Now I've got the distance. You remove your belt quickly. Now, any improvised weapon, do not rely on it. It's only to assist your empty hand skills that you practice regularly. Now, if my opponent, as I'm taking out my belt, charges me, you see, I have to practice my empty hand skills to know that I may need to kick, okay, to keep him back in order to get my belt in a better position on my hand. Now, when I first pull it out, I only have time to do this. So I may have to swing and then kick. You know, you need to put it together. Use your long-range weapons along with the belt. So it may be kick to get him back and then strike. Kick to get him back and then strike. Okay, so you're putting your long-range weapons, which is going to be your kicks, with your belt. Now, once you have the time to put the belt in your palm, wrap it around your wrist and into your hand. That's one way of doing it. Be familiar with the length. Practice regularly with the belt so you know that when you hit an object that it's going to bounce. That you know when you hit an object that it's going to change direction. You have to practice to be familiar with it. So that's one way of doing it. Okay? And be familiar with what length you have. Now, I could just go once around in the palm and once around the knuckles. That's another way of doing it. It gives me a little more length. You need to practice to see how the length makes a difference in what you're able to, and how you're able to swing and get power. Okay, the longer it is, the tougher it's going to be to handle. So, now this, what I was talking about earlier, or what you've seen Junior was able to charge me. This is going to happen, okay? In the real world, they're going to charge a fighter, someone who is bent on doing you bodily harm. This is cute. This is cute, okay? But it's easy for them to charge you. If someone was doing it to me, I'm going to charge them, okay? I'm not going to let them just start, keep their range and keep hitting me with it. He'll take the one or two shots and then he's in, and then he's going to bury that knife into you. Especially if you're relying on just this. Now, if he grabs the head, This is how I would practice your striking. Now, sure, you can strike from here and hit. Circle and hit. Yes, you could strike from here. Yeah, see how it bounces? This is what you need. See how it bounces? It just hit me. Okay? That's going to happen. So, that's why I prefer to hold the belt and to swing and strike through. Hold the belt and then strike through. Now you can hear the power. So that's if I want to do a forehand strike. If I want to do a backhand strike, I'm here. I can backhand and hit the head. Okay? Or the hand. Remember, closest weapon to closest target. If the hand is there, I want to hit that hand. But if the adrenaline is flowing, the hitting the hand might not do anything. It could disarm them, but it might not, because your adrenaline is flowing in both you and your adversary. So we have here, practice this, hit with a forehand. Practice, hit with a backhand. Again, be familiar with that bounce, okay? Another strike. So I prefer that forehand and that backhand from holding the belt. The next is going to be the redondo or vertical strike, which is here. It's here. You got to practice that. Practice. Practice. Okay? That is great. So if he has that knife, drop the head. If he has that knife in his lead hand, I'm not going to hit his hand, but I would be here to hit that hand. Here. Okay? That'll also make it tougher for him. Charge forward at me. Charge forward at me. See? Oops, sorry. Okay? I think I just hit your hand. Did I hit your hand? That's the second time I've hit his hand. All right? It's going to be all bruised up. But it works. That's defanging the snake. Okay? So this is very effective. This vertical strike to keep him back. In addition to your kicks. Okay? So I could strike that hand, do the damage, then shuffle up and kick. And then go with my backhand. All right? Now that's if it's in my front hand. If it's in my rear hand, like this. Okay? Now, I could hit that hand, then come back and hit that head with power. Remember, proper body mechanics to deliver maximum power. Now, a combo to practice would be if he switches leads, and let's say the knife is in his rear hand, and I get my first strike in, okay, to that head. Now I can shuffle up, kick in the groin. I can come down, use my eye jab or a palm strike. Then I can follow up with that strike. Okay? These are things you need to practice. You need to practice using the belt in the lead hand. You need to practice using the belt in the rear hand. Okay? You need to practice putting your empty hand skills to work. Again, working those long range weapons. Your lead kick, your rear kick, to keep them back. Be familiar in knowing how to stop your opponent that's closing that gap. Okay? With even your preemptive empty hand strikes. So it can be here that if I hit the hand, I hit that hand here, I'll just go boom, I'll hit that hand. Now if I want to, I can do that rear leg kick. Or if I'm here, now see, he doesn't have the weapon. And it can be that your opponent doesn't have one. Maybe it's just a big guy and you're pulling out the belt as an equalizer. Or maybe it's, again, multiple opponents. So I'm here, I would kick, eye jab. Here's my strike. Okay? So these are things you can do and practice. So you and the belt become one. Or any improvised weapon. Okay? Now, what if, last we'll cover, is if they get a hold of your belt. Okay? He has the knife, I go to hit him, boom, he grabs the belt. No difference than if he grabbed my wrist. Or if he grabbed my wrist this way. Or if he grabbed my clothing. There's no difference. So if he grabs my belt, I hit him, boom, he grabs that belt, which is going to happen in the real world if they can get a hold of it. okay? And remember, if he's got that knife, once he grabs that belt, I gotta be ready for that knife. I gotta be grabbing his clothing, control that shoulder, control that arm, headbutt, knee, headbutt, whatever I need to do in that close range, because you have to be familiar with your close range weapons. You gotta be familiar whether if it goes to the ground, what to do, okay? So, back to it. He grabs your belt, what do you do? Well, simple. What would you do if they grabbed your wrist? I kick that knee, I kick that groin, okay? He holds onto that belt, I strike the eyes. This is how you would break free. Okay, so remember, practice all this for it to become muscle memory and it to be a natural reaction.